Welcome to Movies We Love Recapped. Today we will examine a 2022 thriller entitled The Offering. Spoilers ahead. Before we begin, hit the like and subscribe button. It's free and will help me to grow this channel. Here we go. The movie opens with the passing of Yosiel Fishbein, a well-known academic who lost his sanity in his quest to resurrect his deceased wife. Despite his repeated attempts and tireless efforts to be reunited with her, his hopes are dashed. During one of his experiments, an ancient entity is stirred, which deceitfully exerts control over Fishbein, ultimately leading to his demise. The next sequence introduces us to Art and Claire, who is anticipating the arrival of their first child. Art harbors a desire to mend his relationship with his father, Saul, leading the pair to pay a visit to the elder at his home, which is also a funeral parlor. Saul is devoutly religious and was previously opposed to his son's marriage to someone outside of their community. The two had lost touch until Art took the initiative to repair the damaged relationship. Upon meeting his son's expectant wife, Claire, Saul warmly greets her. During a dinner conversation with his family, Art abruptly leaves the room after receiving a phone call. The scene reveals that Art is a real estate agent who has been inactive for the past 2 years. He desires to secure a bank loan using his father's property as collateral. His reconciliation with his father was merely a ploy to get his financial affairs in order. Immediately following dinner, Yosiel's body is transported to Saul's chamber for preparation performed by Hamish. Saul requests that Art attend to the task while he converses with Hamish, who cautions the older man that Art's motives for returning may be self-serving. Upon opening the bag containing Yosiel's body, Art is stunned to discover a dagger plunged into his chest. He removes it and discards it into a basin. As Art begins to remove Yosiel's clothing, he spots a dazzling blue stone amulet around his neck. While examining it, he accidentally drops the talisman, shattering it into fragments. In haste, Art pushes the broken pieces down the drain as his father enters the room. As the two begin to examine the body, Saul notices the dagger in the sink, and upon closer inspection realizes that the scripture etched on it marks it as anything but ordinary. Saul then instructs his son to leave the room and commences his inspection of Yosiel's belongings. After Art departs, Saul hears demonic whispers from the hallway that intensify to a deafening volume. Despite his cries for assistance, the piercing noise renders him unheard. Despite the peculiar events transpiring in the basement, Art falls asleep. Yet Claire feels an eerie presence in their room. She wakes up to investigate, finding nothing amiss. After using the restroom and turning off the lights, someone switches them back on. In the mirror, Claire sees Yosiel attempting to extract her baby from her body. A red bloodstain is visible on the bed sheets through the reflection in the mirror. Overwhelmed with fear, Claire wakes from her nightmare, realizing it was all a dream. After encountering a strange event the previous night, Saul wastes no time and reaches out to Chaim, a Kabbalist, to analyze the scripture on the dagger. He informs Chaim that the script contains the name of God written in reverse, which summons demons and binds them to a body. Chaim inquires about the presence of an amulet on the body, to which Saul responds negatively, as he did not observe one. Chaim then goes on to state that without an amulet, the body cannot be possessed by a demon. Despite this, the body must be burned to prevent any potential danger. Meanwhile, Hamish uncovers the real motivation behind Art's reunion with the elderly man. He shares this information with Saul, who is devastated to learn that his son is so self-centered. Art, who is both ashamed and egotistic, chooses to depart from the house. Claire, however, wants him to express regrets to his father. When Art goes to his father's room to apologize, he lacks the bravery to speak with him and eventually leaves. At the same time, Saul senses that someone is in his room, and when he looks around, he finds no one. The lights start to flicker, and suddenly Saul is confronted by a demon who takes his soul. The following day, Art finds his father's assistant in the basement. Upon entering, Art encounters his father's lifeless body. Overcome with sadness and confusion about how events transpired, he breaks down in tears and wonders how it all came to be. He is filled with regret that he never had the chance to express his feelings to his father before his passing. At Saul's funeral, Claire begins to witness the ghost of a young girl named Sarah, who approaches her seeking assistance. However, as soon as Claire tries to follow her, she disappears. Later, it is revealed that Sarah had gone missing, and her body was eventually found after an extensive search. The cause of her death and what happened to her remains a mystery. Following Saul's death, Art takes charge of his father's chambers. He calls in workers to bury Yoseel's body, but they insist that he must first report the deceased to the authorities. Without the consent of Yoseel's next of kin, they cannot proceed with the burial. However, Art chooses to handle the matter independently and visits Yoseel's residence in search of contact information. When Art enters Yoseel's house, he discovers a cupboard in spiritual texts and symbols. He also comes across an audio recording that describes the demon as a notorious shapeshifter who deceives individuals into obtaining their desires. Under the wooden floor, Yoseel had stored recordings named The Miracle of Sarah Schneidel, referring to the young girl who had sought Claire's help. Art also notices a sigil on the floor that he recognizes from his recent dreams. He plays one of the tapes and learns that Yoseel had attempted to bring back his wife from the afterlife through a ritual, but made a deal with the demon Abazu. The demon ultimately killed Yoseel and took Sarah's life as a sacrifice. In the meantime, while Art is away, Claire is visited by Yoseel's wife, Ada. She demands to view her husband's remains. Confused, Claire attempts to call Art, but is unable to reach him. Observing the elderly woman's distress to see her deceased spouse, Claire accompanies her to the basement. Claire is startled to see Yoseel's face when Ada points to the storage unit where her husband has been stored. She recalls him from her dream in which he attempted to harm her unborn child. Ada relates Claire's dream and implores her to ignite the amulet located on the drain. It is revealed that the demon disguised itself as Ada in order to burn the talisman and break free from the body it was trapped within. When Claire burns the amulet, Yoseel's body also begins to burn, freeing the demon. Claire attempts to escape from it, with the dark powers of Abazu pursuing her. She tries to conceal herself from the demon, but it eventually locates her. Art arrives at the house, only to be met by Sarah. She presents him with a stark choice: either offer a child as a sacrifice to the demon, or face losing his wife and unborn child forever. Confronted with this difficult decision, Art seeks out Hamish's assistance in resolving the predicament. Hamish discovers that Abazu is responsible for everything and contacts Kayam. They explain that Yoseel had imprisoned the demon inside himself using an amulet, but since the amulet and the body are now destroyed, the demonic spirit has been released. Abazu is hunting those who offer their children to be fed on, and thus must be prevented. Hamish and Kayam decide to put an end to what Yoseel had begun. As per the ritual, Abazu always preys on a child who is within a sigil. Kayam intends to trap the demon by using an amulet and reciting prayers to force it inside while performing the ritual. Art would need to kill himself to trap the demon inside him. He would need to stand within a sigil, created using Yoseel's body ashes. Art would then wear an amulet to let the demon enter his soul, eventually killing him. However, things escalate quickly when the demon enters the room and kills Kayam. As Hamish is in the process of completing the protective circle using Yoseel's ashes, the demon takes his life as well. Art is now left alone to perform the ritual. As he recites the prayer, the demon begins to distort his thoughts. The devil also snatched Claire and locked her in a room. Upon hearing his wife's screams, Art leaves the sigil, leaving himself vulnerable to the demon's attack. Art attempts to end his life with the dagger, but finds himself unable to do so. Suddenly, Hamish appears and assists Art in driving the dagger into his heart. However, Art soon realizes that it was actually Abazu, disguised as Hamish, who had come to end his life. As Art stepped out of the sigil and discarded the amulet in an attempt to save his wife, the demon was able to take his life. Claire wakes up to find herself lying beneath a table. The events felt like a dream, and it seemed to her as if nothing had transpired. She exits the room and discovers Art alive by the door. The film concludes with Claire running to embrace Art, but as she does, Art transforms into Abazu and kills Claire and her infant, satisfying the demon's hunger for another child. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this recap, please hit the like and subscribe button. Leave a comment below Let me know what movies you would like me to recap in the future.